Get your reading books out on the bright side. I'm really excited about today's story. We're going to do a poem first on page 120, but then after we're going to do one of my favorite stories. I know. Miss Monroe, you always say that. You say that about every story. It's so good. You can have favorites. You can have more than one. So this is another favorite and it's really, really good. And I think you're going to like it too. How many times have I said that? And you were like, and then afterwards you were like, oh, you were right, Miss Monroe. Yeah, just you wait. You're going to say that again, okay? But let's do our poem first, That May Morning. In this poem, the speaker is up very early in the morning walking down the street. Let's see how he remembers his day. So words to watch for, customer is the first word, and pigeons is the next word. That May Morning by Leland B. Jacobs. That May morning, very early, as I walked the city street, not a single store was open, any customer to greet. That May morning, it was early. As I walked the avenue, I could stop and stare and window shop and hear the pigeons coo. Early, early that May morning, I could skip and jump and run and make shadows on the sidewalk, not disturbing anyone. All the windows, all the lampposts, every leaf on every tree that was growing through the sidewalk seemed to be there just for me. And that's just a really neat poem. Early in the morning, everything else was silent. There weren't a bunch of people around. He could hear things that he wasn't normally used to hearing. He could see things and he could do things and jump and run and not worry about people going, oh, little boy, stop running, or oh, you're in the way. He was able to do many of those things just that he wanted to do. So this is a really just cute poem. He's remembering all of these wonderful things. Now, think about it at the bottom of the page, says describe the poem's setting. Remember what setting is. So I'm not going to say, because you should remember, and if you need to look back and see if you can remember what setting is, but we've talked about setting several times. So I want you to write at least 2 sentences that just share what is the setting going on here in this poem, okay? So 2 sentences, send them to me so that I can see that you know what the setting is and if you can get it correct or not, okay? And then there's the great picture of the little boy running through the city streets. But page 122, and this is so good. There's a saying that it's going to make sense when we read through this, but there's a saying that's been around for a long time, and it goes like this. The grass is always greener on the other side of the fence. The grass is always greener on the other side of the fence. What does that even mean? What do you mean the grass is always greener on the other side of the fence or on the other side of the road? That doesn't really make sense, Mr. Monroe. Well, I want you to talk about that with your parents, but I also want you, as we go through this story, to see if you can figure out what it means on your own. Okay, think about it, listen to this, and you'll probably get the idea pretty quickly about what it's saying when it says the grass is always greener on the other side. Okay, words to watch for. Crier is the first word. Horse is the next word. Not that kind of horse, okay? Horse is in voice, that's horse, okay? Kind of like Miss Monroe some days. Idling, and idling is the last word. What you should not be doing right now. Do not be idling your time away, looking at the ceiling, seeing if you see anything. No, it's time to work, so no idling right now. All right, so let's find out about this town crier and the tailor and what it has to do with the grass being greener on the other side. What? And this is by Maud Lindsay. There was once a town crier who was very sure that no one worked as hard as he. Why, with all his running up and down the streets to ring his bell and tell what was lost and what was found and other news besides, his feet were ready to drop off, he said. And that was not the worst of it. Soon I shall have no more voice than a mouse's squeak, he told his friend the tailor. Huh, or a bear's growl, you had better say, answered the tailor, who for his part was sure that he worked harder than the crier any day. Oh, so we got a little competition going on. Well, my job is harder than yours. No, it's not. My job is way harder than yours. Oh, you have no idea what it's like when I go up and down the streets and I'm yelling, ringing the bell, and I have to tell all the news. And you have no idea. And now here's the crier's day. If you sat cross-legged to sow a seam day in and day out, you would soon learn what hard work is, said he. Hard work, exclaimed the crier. Why, there is never a time that I go by your shop that I do not think what a warm corner and easy earnings a tailor has. And I never see you pass that I do not say to myself, there goes the crier with nothing to do but make a noise, snapped the tailor. The more they talked, the crosser they grew, and they might be quarreling yet if they had not taken the matter to the parson, who was said to be the wisest man in town. There is but one way to find out which has the harder task, he said, when he had listened to both of them, and that is to exchange work. What does that mean? Right, they're going to switch jobs. And so now the crier is going to become the tailor, and the tailor is going to become the crier. And it's like, that's the way you'll be able to know which is which, okay? And do you know what a parson is? What do you think a parson is? Said to be the wisest one in town, but what is a parson? Some of you might be thinking, what, lawyer or, something like that. Well, a parson is actually a preacher, okay? So they went to the parson, they listened to what the parson said, and now he's telling them, switch jobs. And then you can see who has the harder job. Let the tailor cry the news for a day, and the crier sew the seams. Then we shall see what we shall see. Yes, we shall. The two friends were well pleased with the parson's plan. The very next morning, the crier took his place in the tailor's shop, while the tailor went out with the crier's bell to tell the news of a lost pig. Ding-a-dong, ding, rang the bell, and the tailor called as much like the crier as he could. Pig lost, a white and black pig, a pig with a curly tail, a fat pig, a small pig, a pig with 4 legs. He called so loud and so long that when the pig was discovered at last in a garden not far away, the tailor was as hoarse as a frog. But this made no difference. Before he had time to draw a long breath, he was sent to call the people to a town meeting. Then someone found a silk purse, and that must be told, though the purse was as empty as a last year's bird nest. A silk purse found without a penny in it, cried the poor tailor. By and by, he was forced to sit on a doorstep to rest. But he had not been there long enough to clear his throat when here came the mayor to ask why he was idling away his time. So he's been crying all morning about a pig, about a town meeting. Come to the town meeting. There's a silk purse that was found. So it doesn't have anything in it, but just in case. Oh, I had to sit down for a minute. And the mayor comes by. What are you doing sitting there? You are wasting time. There's news to be told. Go get up and share the news. Oh my goodness, my voice, my feet, my legs, my arm. I'm tired. He's asking why he was idling away his time. Do you not know that a ship has come in with tea and spice from over the sea? Be up and off to tell the good news, said the mayor. There was nothing for the tailor to do but to start out again, though his thoughts were whirling so fast in his head that he did not know what he was telling. A spice has come in with a ship and a sea from over the tea, he sang in a sad voice. This was news to make the people wonder, you may be sure. And by the time the poor tailor had told them better, he was ready to agree to anything the crier might say. And if he had but known it, the crier was as ready as he to own himself wrong. So here's the tailor going, okay, you know what? He's right. He has the harder job. It's so awful. And notice I said harder, not the hardest, because we're only comparing two. Good. Okay, sorry. I just thought that was okay. Anyway, that's why it's important to know those things so you can speak correctly and educably. That's very important. Okay, anyway. He's going, oh, he's right. He's got the harder job. But now the crier is thinking the same thing. I just want to be done. I don't like it. He's got the harder job. I need to go back to, you know. So listen, with prickles in his toes, cramps in his knees, and an ache in his back, the crier sat cross-legged in the tailor's warm corner, wishing with all his heart that he were out in the wind and weather with his bell. The needle that he sewed with was bent, his thread was knotted, his fingers were all thumbs, and which was the front and which was the back of the coat he was to make for the mayor that day, he could not tell. Okay, there's a front, there's a back, and he couldn't even tell where the front and the back were as to what he was making. He turned the pieces this way and that, but when at last he sewed them together, he was as uncertain as he had been in the beginning. What? He was about to put everything down and go to find the tailor when he saw him staring in at the shop window and whining sadly. A ship has come in with spices and tea. So he looks up and there's the tailor. Oh, I want to be back in my spot. That is no way to tell the news, shouted the crier, shaking the shears at the tailor in his excitement. Open your mouth like this and cry, a ship has come in, a ship has come in. The tailor opened his mouth so wide that the crier himself was surprised, but instead of the news of a ship, he roared, the mayor's coat is spoiled. The armholes are sewed up. The pockets are upside down. The buttons are on the coattails. The mayor's coat is spoiled. All the while he was calling, he rang the bell as if the town were on fire. And if the parson had not passed just then, there is no telling what might have happened next. There is but one thing to do, said the parson when he had heard all that there was to hear. Each must take his old task again. And he would have said that there must be no more quarreling, but he had no time for this. No sooner had he spoken the words that set them free from their bargain than the tailor was inside his shop, and the crier was hurrying down the street making as much noise as if it were Christmas. All over the town he could be heard ringing his bell and shouting joyfully, good news, a ship has come home with spices and tea from over the sea, a ship has come home. There was no happier man anywhere than the town crier that day, unless it were the tailor, as he sat in his cozy corner taking out every stitch that the crier had put in the mayor's coat. Isn't that good? I told you would enjoy that one. That's a good one. The town crier and the town tailor. What was the problem with the two of them? They both thought that their work was so hard and it was so awful, and you have no idea how bad I have it, and you have no idea how bad I have it. That's what it means when the grass is greener on the other side. We always think that somebody's life is better than ours. We don't know the reality of what that person's life is like. We're seeing it from a totally different perspective than they are. Oh, but you have all of this, and you have all these family members, and you have everything that you could ever want. You have the money, you have doesn't mean that that person is better off. Doesn't mean that that person's happy. Doesn't mean any of those things. So what these two men learned is contentment. You know what? I need to stop looking at the grass on so-and-so's side of the fence. I need to look at my grass and worry about that. Be happy and content with what I have. They each had spent time in each other's shoes, that's another phrase, doing their work. And then they realized, you know what? I'm not called for that. I'm meant to be a crier. I need to be out there. I know it's hard, but man, I love doing it. I'm meant to be a tailor. I just want to sit cross-legged and just be sewing. I don't want to be out there in the wind and the rain and screaming, my voice going, okay? God called each of us to our own specific thing, and we need to find that thing and do it to the best of our ability and not worry about somebody else and what they have or what they can do better. God made us all different, and that's good. Describe the town crier's job. And we already said he's going through the town, crying out the news, anything that has to be told, he has to share it. What is the tailor's job? Right? A tailor is the person who sews clothes. Were the tailor and the town crier content with their jobs at the beginning of the story? They certainly were not. Why? Yeah, they thought, You've got an easier job than I do. Who gave the town crier and the tailor good advice? The parson. And what was it? Switch jobs. And then you'll see. And boy, did they see. It changed their minds very, very quickly. All right, so page 130, page 130, 29, sorry. Happiness is the Lord. And this is by Ira Stanfill. And this is actually a song. I don't know if you guys will remember. We've sung this song. It's been a little while, but in chapel we've sung this song a couple of times. Happiness is the Lord. Happiness is to know the Savior, living a life within His favor, having a change in my behavior. Happiness is the Lord. Happiness is a new creation, Jesus and me in close relation, having a part in His salvation. Happiness is the Lord. Real joy is mine, no matter if the teardrops start. I found the secret. It's Jesus in my heart. Happiness is to be forgiven, living a life that's worth the living, taking a trip that leads to heaven. Happiness is the Lord. And I hope that you look at that and think, you know what? Yeah, that's the best life. That's the happiness that we can have. And it's such a good song. So maybe I'm going to sing that song tomorrow in chapel because that's just such a good song. Page 130, what better? Author unknown. For every leaf of green, a golden leaf. For every faded flower, a yellow sheaf. For every sunny hour, a drop of rain. For every cloudy day, the stars again. For every dashing wave, a pretty shell. For every sound of woe, a merry bell. For every passing care, a mother's kiss. And what could be better, my child, than this? So there's these sad things, there's these awful things, a dashing wave and it destroys, but then there's this beautiful shell. There's sickness and sadness and people are dying, but yet there's a bell sounding that makes things merry. You get hurt and this care, but a mother's there to give that help and be there to be concerned. So we need to look for the pleasant sometimes when things are unpleasant. Look for those pleasant things because God gives us those wonderful blessings. Then you're going to turn to page 137 in the back of your books. Page 137 is the Dig Deeper section, and you are going to write your own short fiction story. So after reading Town Crier and Tailor from page 122, write your own short fiction story. So that's what you're going to do. Make it good. Make me very interested. Make me just as excited as I was for the Town Crier and Tailor story. Okay? Looking forward to seeing those. All right. See you soon.